All right there, Cotton Soul Tribe, you welcome to Cotton Soul Tribe YouTube channel. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you for always sharing my videos. So as you can see, today we are going to learn how to cut and sew this beautiful play suit. So I'll be showing you everything in detail, from the cutting to the sewing. Now for the required measurement, you are going to need from shoulder to your desired length, your bust circumference, your waist circumference. You are going to need your hip circumference. So basically those are the uh, required measurements. So for your required materials, so I have here with me 2 years of African print and a matching zipper. So it depends on your body size. 2 years should be okay for you if you are of a small size like myself. So although you can draft directly on your fabric, but because I discovered that my fabric is are too busy and the chalk is not showing very well, that's why I decided to use my pattern paper. So the first thing you're going to do on your pattern paper is to leave a space of about 4 to 5 inches. So as you can see, that is what I am drawing out now. I am drawing out my 5 inches space, and that's going to serve as my crotch extension. So when the time comes, you are going to see what you're going to use that for. So after leaving that space, you go ahead now and just draw your starting point, your margin line. So I love calling that line your shoulder line. So that's going to be the starting point. So I just go ahead and rule it out. I came down by 1 inch and I just ruled out that space. So that's going to be our shoulder line. So I will move on now to draw all our vertical measurements. The first vertical measurement is going to be our bust line. The next one is going to be our waistline, and the third one is going to be the hip line. So on my bust line, from the shoulder line, I came down by 9 inches. So if you are of a plus size, like you are of bust 40 and above, I want to advise you come down by 10 inches, at least 10 inches. So the first line there is going to be my bust line. Now the second line, the one I'm drawing now, is going to be from shoulder to my waistline, and that is 16 inches. So I'll go ahead and draw out a straight line on that line. So after this, the next line you're going to draw is going to be from shoulder to hip. So my shoulder to hip is 22, and that is what I have drawn out. So can you see it? I have 3 vertical lines that I have drawn. So I am just labeling it so that it will be easy for us to identify each line. So now the next line we're going to draw now is our crotch depth. So I need you to pay close attention. It's very important so that you get the accurate calculation of your crotch depth. Now to get your crotch depth, when you are dealing with something like this, so you need to divide your hip circumference. Whatever your hip circumference is, just divide it into 4. In my own case, my hip circumference is 36. Dividing 36 into 4 is going to give me 9 inches. So because it is play suit, we are cutting our trousers together with the upper bodies, so we are going to add extra of 4 inches. So adding extra of 4 inches to my hip divided by 4 is going to give me 13 inches. Now that 13 inches, if you look at the way I'm placing it, I am placing it from my waistline. So whatever you get using this calculation that I've mentioned, you are going to place it from your waistline downward, not from your hip, and that is going to serve as your crotch depth. Now after the crotch depth, the last vertical line you're going to measure is going to be your desired length, from shoulder to your desired length. So we have all our vertical lines set. Now go ahead now and measure my neck measurement. So for my neck width, I'll be using 3.5. So depending on how wide you want it, you can use between 3 to 4 inches, and the depth is going to be 7 inches. You know, the front neckline is V, so I need you to know that on this pattern I will be cutting both the front and the back together, but we are still working on the front blocks now. So now, after getting my neck width and neck depth, the next measurement I am placing now is my across shoulder measurement. So in my own case, I use 18 inches. You can use between 18 to 20 inches depending on how low you want your sleeve to be. So on that point, on 18 inches, I came down by 1 inch, and I am slanting that line, and I connected it back to my neck tip. So that 18 inches, I bring it down to my bust line. You know, the sleeve is cut together with the bodies. Okay, now let's go ahead and input all our circumferences. So the first circumference you're going to input is going to be your bust. My bust, I divide it into 4, and I added ease of ½ inch. So for my waist as well, I divided my waist into 4. I added ease of ½ inch. I did the same thing on my hip divided by 4 plus ease of ½ inch. So I added ease of ½ inch to all our horizontal measurements. So please take note of that. Now, whatever you have on your hip circumference is what you are going to bring all the way down to the hem of your play suit. Can you see it? So I've connected it like that, and you make sure you blend in all the sharp edges. So now you are not going to leave your sleeve area, your armhole area, you're not going to leave it like this because it is too sharp. So from the bust line, I came down by 1 inch, and I'm going to use my curve to blend in that line just to get that shape that our armhole used to have. Can you see it? Okay, the next thing I want to do now is I'll go ahead now and input my crotch extension. So for your crotch extension, because this is a bit loose, so for a small size like if 34 to 36, 37, you can use 2.5. But if you are a plus size, I want to encourage you to use 3 inches. 3 inches for your crotch extension. So can you see it? The crotch extension, I connected it together to my hip, and that line I brought it down to the hem. So this is what our front panel will look like, our front block will look like. The only thing left here now is to alter the neckline, but you know, I said I'll be cutting the back block together with it, so I'm not going to work on the neckline yet. So I'll proceed to working on the back block. So for the neck depth of the back, I'll be using 1 inch. Can you see it? I came down by 1 inch, and I use my curve to get the shape. 1 inch is okay, so that your band will be able to raise above your neckline very well. Can you see it? So the next important thing you're going to do on your back block is your zipper allowance, because there is zipper at the back of this play suit. So I came out by 1 inch on the neckline, and you are going to connect it all the way to the hip line like I am doing. Can you see it? So I have 1 inch of zipper allowance like so. So that's going to be my zipper allowance. Now the next thing to work on is the crotch extension for the back. You know, the crotch extension for the back, it's usually longer than that of the front. So I'll be extending the crotch extension for the back by 2 inches more from where the front ends. Do you get it now? So I extended it by 2 inches from where the front ends. And can you see the way I'm placing my curve? So from that extension, you're going to place your curve touching your hip line, and you are going to draw out this shape like this. You know, this is the shape our crotch used to have. So can you see it? And you make sure you connect it all the way to the hem. So that part is going to serve as the crotch extension for the back. So this back block is almost done. So on this pattern now, the next thing I love doing is I love cutting my pocket together with my fabric, and that is what I'll be doing now. But before then, before you can cut your pockets together, you will need to add your size seam allowance. Can you see it? So 1 inch is just okay. So I am just adding 1 inch seam allowance starting from the sleeve area to the side seam. Can you see it? Just go ahead and add 1 inch seam allowance, and I'll connect it all the way to the hem. So from the sleeve area, I added 1 inch seam allowance to the hem. Now after the seam allowance, you are good to go. So you can just go ahead and add your pocket allowance. So from the waistline, I came down by 1/2 inch, and from the hip line, I came down by 1 inch. And can you see the way I'm placing my hand? So on that 1/2 inch, I'm going to draw that shape. This shape is where our pocket will be. Can you see it? It is just okay if your hand can enter it. You don't want your pocket to be too deep. So this is going to be our pocket allowance, and this pattern is ready to be cut. So on this pattern now, the first thing I'm going to cut out is going to be my back. And can you see what I am tracing with my finger? That part is where I'll be cutting out now. The 1 inch neck depth, the zipper allowance, and the back crotch extension. It is very, very important to note that part. Note that part. So I'm just adding my seam allowance to the shoulder area as well, so that I can have my complete pattern paper. So I'll go ahead now and cut out my back block first. We need to cut out the back block before cutting out the front block, and you just follow the way I'm cutting. If you follow it, you are going to get your perfect result. So go ahead and cut your zipper allowance. Can you see it? So to the neckline, can you see the way I'm cutting it? And the shoulder, I'll cut it together. So to my sleeve, can you see it? Just follow it. Don't forget to cut on the seam allowance we added. So all right, this is it. This is our back block. I'll go ahead now and transfer this to the fabric. I'm going to cut 2 pieces of this, and we'll come and work on our front block. So I've cut out my 2 pieces for the back. It is now time to remove all the allowances we added for the back. I'll be removing my zipper allowance and the crotch extension for the front. Can you see it? I'll just go ahead and cut it out like so. Can you see the way I'm cutting out? You don't need those parts again because it is not part of the front block. So I've removed my zipper allowance and my crotch extension for the back. So here now we have this to be for the front block. So the last alteration we are going to do on the front block is to work on our front. You know, there is a band, neck band, from the back all the way to the waistline on the front. So the width of your band, it depends on how wide you want it. You can have it between 2 to 2.5, but you don't want it to be too big. You get it now. So on this pattern now, I am taking away 1.5. So the 1.5, you are going to look, I took it away from the waist, and you are going to look at the way you can connect it to your neckline. Do you get my points now? So I am connecting it like so. Can you see it? To the waistline. So this is what you are going to have, but you don't want to leave it like this. You need to blend in that line so that it will not be too sharp, and your band, your neck band, will have place to sit. Can you see it? So I'll cut out that part. I'll just go ahead and cut out this part like so. So you don't need this part again because you are going to attach your band. So this is it. We have this to be our front block. I'll go and transfer it on my fabric. I'll cut 2 pieces of this and I'll come and show you how to join our fabric together. So this is it. I've cut out. This is for the front. We have it like so. Now step number 1, when you want to sew these pieces, follow this step by step. So I'll be calling out the steps. Step number 1 is you are going to take it to your sewing machine and sew down your crotch depth. Can you see it? You can pin it down. You're going to sew it on 1/2 inch. I added 1/2 inch to that part for my seam allowance. So can you see it? When you join it together, you are going to have that opening on your front blocks. And for the back, this is a back block. Can you see it? So from your zipper allowance on the down part, you are going to go up by half inch, and from that 1/2 inch you are going to join on 1/2 inch again to sew down the back crotch. And when you sew it down, this is what you're going to have. So for the front and the back now, after joining the crotches together, step 2, place the front and the back blocks on each other, right side facing right side. Do you get my point now? Make sure right side is facing right side, and you take it back to the sewing machine. You're going to join your shoulders on 1/2 inch. So that is the next thing I'll go and do now on 1/2 inch. So I've joined my shoulders together, and this is what we have. So I have my shoulders joined together. Step 3, you go ahead and measure your neck circumference, both the front neck and the back neck. Can you see the way I'm measuring it? You are going to measure it all the way to the back. Can you see it? So in my own case, I have 22.5 for the whole thing. But when you want to cut your fabric, you are going to add extra of 1/2 inch, and that's going to be your seam allowance. So I'll be cutting 23. So I have here now 23 inches by 2 inches on fold. So that means the width of my cape after sewing it down is going to be 1.5. But like I said, if you want it bigger than this, you are good to go. Do you get it now? So I have 2 inches on fold by 23 inches. The length is 23 inches and the width is 2 inches on fold. So now I'll go ahead. Now I will place the band on the neck, starting from the back neck. So you make sure the right side of your band is facing the right side of your fabric. I place the right side of the band on the right side of the fabric like so. Can you see it? So let me turn it so that you can see it very well. So can you see it? You make sure you arrange it very well. So I started from the back neckline. Now when you come to your waistline, where we cut open on the pattern, that space, you make sure you notch down 1/2 inch like so. Can you see it? Notch it open on both sides. You know, you are going to have 2 sides like that after joining it together. So make sure you notch it half on both sides. So the first band, when you get to that 1/2 inch, you stop. Can you see? That's the reason why we added 1/2 inch to the length of our band. So you are going to attach the second neck band as well. Do you get it? So you're going to place it right side facing right side, and you're going to place it all the way from the back neckline to that point you notched initially. Do you get my points now? So just go ahead and place it, and when you get to that part you notch, you pin it down as well. So this is what you will have after pinning it down. So I'll take it to the sewing machine now. I'll go and sew it down. and I'll come and show you how to finish that part. So this is what we have after attaching the band. So I discovered this band is a bit tiny. You can make yours bigger than this. So to finish up that part, I will turn it inside. I will turn it to the I will turn it inside. Can you see it? So you make sure your bands lap over each other. Can you see the way I'm placing it? So make sure they lap over each other, and you're going to pick the two bands together, and underneath you are going to see small fabric. If you have notched the way I said you should notch, you are going to see small fabric, 1/2 inch. So you need to pick it together with your two bands. Now if you don't notch that part, you won't be able to finish up this neckline. So that notching is very, very important, and I will not deceive you guys, you need to be extra careful here because this part is a bit tricky. So you are going to pick the three of them together like so. So if you like, you can pin it down. So and you arrange properly. You make sure, and you just go ahead and sew it. So please do not exceed the part you notch, because if you exceed that 1/2 inch, your band will pleat outside and you don't want that. So after joining it, this is what we have. Can you see how neat it is? And our neckband is ready. The next thing I love doing is I love top stitching this type of neckline. But before you can top stitch it, you make sure you weave it. Weave the line. So when you weave it, you can now go ahead and top stitch so that you can have a very neat finishing. So I will do that. So let's assume I've top stitched now. So the next thing you are going to do after top stitching is I'll go ahead and just shape this dress. I'll be shaping on my seam allowance. So I'll start from the sleeve. Can you see it? And when you get to the pocket area, you are going to come down. We came down on our waist by 1/2 inch. So you do that, and you are going to leave your pocket opening. You don't want to sew straight down. Can you see? Just follow the way I am pointing my finger. When you get there, you enter into the pocket and just sew it around. You come down by 1/2 inch and just sew it around to the end part. So that's what you're going to do to the other side as well. I'll go and do that. I'll finish up my neckline and I'll come and show you how to attach our rope casing. So I've sewn down everything. I'll finish up the neckline. I've sewn down the crotch. So can you see the pocket? The pocket is intact as well. So I have my rope here of about 50 inches. You are going to have 2 ropes. So depending on how long you want it, so I'll prepare it. Now I want to show you how to get your rope casing. I've done for one side. I will show you how to do it now. So I have 2 inches wide of fabric here, and the length is 1/2 of my waist. Now guys, when you want to place your casing, when you want to sew down your casing, number one, you make sure you fold in the mouth, the beginning of the fabric you want to use, so that that part will be very neat. And placing it down, you make sure you place it on your waistline, and the starting point, you make sure you place it away from the band. Like you can place it like 1/2 inch away from the neck band. You don't want to sew it on the neck band, because if you sew it on the neck band, you won't be able to gather your rope. Do you get my point now? And you make sure you don't place it on your pocket. So this is the way I did this, and you go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. So now this is it. I've sewn it down, and as you can see, I have my opening. It's a pity that everything is rhyming together, but with my explanation, I believe you can get it. So the next thing you are going to do now before fixing your zipper is that you make sure you pass your rope in the casing. So that is what I'm doing right now. You need to pass in your rope before fixing your zipper. So you pass it all the way to the zipper allowance and you're going to stitch it down. You're going to do that on both sides, and after doing that you can now go ahead and fix your zipper. That's what I will go and do now. I will do all the necessary fitting on this play suit, and our play suit is ready. So I'm going to wear it for us to see. All right guys, can you see this is the final outlook of this play suit? I so much love it. So if you find this tutorial helpful, kindly give us thumbs up. Do well to subscribe to this channel for more interesting tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next class. Bye.